righty ho. So, I've got a nice surprise for you lot. So, those of you that have seen my previous video will probably see that I've hinted at this. So this was a decent Hindenburg game we had, oh god, when was that? On the 24th. So, it's been a little while since I've seen this, so I'm a bit out of practice in the sense that I don't know specifically what... I know it works out being a good game, but I don't know what happens when, so much. So, but as it begins, we're on the... which map is this? Yes, the Atlantic map. And we're in Hindenburg, and we all know what Hindenburg's good for. Very, very, very good DPM. Well, she doesn't spit out shells stupid fast, like some, who are also known for very good DPM, but she hits pretty hard when she hits. So as a result, her damage per minute numbers are on the larger end, I guess. So, beginning of the game goes about as usual, about as you'd expect. Except at least with me. I didn't overextend this time and get killed. I actually turn around at some point when I realise there's too much there for just me to handle. But we will burn that bridge when we get to it. So in the meantime, there's not really a lot happening at the moment. It's just your usual kind of early game. Nothing's here. You know, startup. Well, not startup, I guess. I guess the word would more be like upkeep, I suppose. Harping back to my Magic the Gathering days. So the Ohio gets spotted, so we fire off, what's that, 12 of our glorious German-made 152mm shell. Oh no, they're 203s, aren't they? Yeah, 203s. I'm not a smart man, and these videos are in no way scripted, so get used to that. So next off we take a pot shot at the Kerr first. Note how we get spotted here. So in our mind we're kind of going through what spotting as well. It's not the shimmy, so it's probably the Des Moines. Lo and behold, it was, in fact, the Des Moines. Now, we make the decision to move over to AP here. And in fairness, in hindsight, we should have had AP loaded, like the, you know, hindsight is 2020, so if we'd have known that he was going to be like that, we would have loaded AP after that currywurst shot, but we didn't, and so here we are. So, unfortunately, he gets off behind the island, so we go back to HE. So next up, I believe we shoot at the Ohio, because he repaired our fire. Or it might be the Kerr first, because the Ohio is currently unavailable. Yeah, there we go. So we shoot at the currywurst. So now that the currywurst has been shot at and we've set him on fire, we deal a good 6k to him and set him on fire. Now we move back to AP, and in hindsight this was a bad move, because at that kind of angle we weren't, like, there's not really any way we would have penned that. We do, however, take a fairly big chunk there between those two battleships, 6k and 1, so 7k total. This isn't going to bite us later, but it very well could have done. So next up, we, I believe, take a pot shot at either the currywurst or the Ohio. Unfortunately, we are going to lose our Shima. This is one very, very, very brave Shima. I really don't know what he was playing at, but a very brave guy. A braver man than I. Although that bravery isn't going to get him very far. Although, with that said, both the Ohio and the currywurst take torpedoes, and the currywurst, having repaired a fire earlier, is flooding. So, with that said, we turn out as not to eat these shells, but I believe these weren't actually aimed. Yeah, those weren't aimed for us in the first place. So, we put out some more shellage against this currywurst. in the hopes that we can set him on fire, because if we set him on fire, then that's a perma, and that will buff our damage numbers nicely. It appears he's reversing, however. Fairly standard thing to do, I guess. We also then decide to take a shot against the Ohio, but I don't think that's gonna hit because he's turning. We may have aimed a bit too high there. So yeah, we didn't hit those. So we take another shot at the Currywurst, in the hopes that we can set him on fire. He's no longer flooding though. So even though we do set him on fire here, this isn't necessarily going to be a perma. Unless his damage con came off cooldown. And no, in fact, he repaired the fire, so that definitely wasn't a perma. So he's no longer ticking our fire, but it means that he's now vulnerable to any other fire that may be set on him. So whilst that's not very good for our numbers, it will at least help with sinking the Currywurst, and that's what we want to do. We want to get the Currywurst sunk, because whilst he's not a big threat, he is still a threat. It is still something that we can't, like, we can't leave that alone. However, in the meantime, we decide to focus our attention more on this Minotaur, since we know roughly where he was, and we can use the lock-on with the Shima so that we get accurate shells, and we get a few hits, and nothing much comes of it. But then, by the looks of things, this Minotaur makes a mistake, a pretty big mistake at that. So he makes the mistake of popping out in front of Hindenburg that quite clearly has shown he knows what he is doing, since he is firing the correct shells at the correct targets and all that. Now, he's about to make this mistake. I know he does make the mistake sooner or later, I just forget when. Ah yes, we get spotted, and I think that's when he pops up. So we set the Ohio on fire, though, in any case. We're up to a reasonable amount of damage. We're up to, 50k. Which I guess isn't terrible for 5 minutes into the game, but, you take what you can get and all that. Okay, so the Mino starts shooting at us. And of course, we make the switch to AP here, making good use of our expert loader. So, we push a salvo out against the Mino. I thought he was going to accelerate, but it seems he's reversing at this point. So we land a decent hit, but nothing startling. So now we get some more shells off. And these hurt, so that's 3 citadels. But I mean, in fairness, Minotaur is basically a floating citadel, so there is that. Now, I put my Hydro here, thinking that that's a DD. That is in fact not a DD. And so I was worried about being torped. However, that wasn't the concern here. So we get some more shells out. No, we keep AP loaded for this because it's a Smolensk. They're not known for being particularly well armoured. We land 1 citadel, bumping us up to 90k damage, but we are also kind of running low on health at this point. And this is kind of where I just make the decision to not so much rush, but I guess go a bit ham. Because realistically, I've got to face a Smolensk. I'm not going to win that in a fair fight, realistically. So, what we decide to do instead is we see if we can bait the Smolensk into a fair fight. So he gets spotted. We only get 1 salvo off before he gets undetected, but sometimes 1 salvo is all it takes. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those cases. So, next up, we of course keep going. Our heal comes up, so we're about to use that. And that should bring us up to a bit more of a healthy state. With that said though, this still could go either way. So, with that said then, we decide to make the turn. Because realistically, all of our team off towards the left-hand side, they're doing fine. That's not a problem. I think the Smolensk decides to open up here based on the fact that I've only got my front 2 guns, and that should make things easier for him. That's not really how that works. So we slug him down to about 1300 health. And then we, of course, in the grand scheme of things, we do manage to sink him. Brilliant. We repair the fire. Now, we did this purely because... Now, this could have gone badly. If we'd have eaten one of these torps and survived, that would have been it for us. But fortunately, we don't, because our hydro is up. So we get lucky there. But we do this because there was no real risk of being set on fire after the Smolensk was gone, or not immediately anyways. So we decided to repair the fire and, you know, conserve some health, because, you know, we'll need it. Like, this was back in... At this phase in the game, it's winnable, but it's gonna take some work. So we decide we're going to turn around again, especially since this Kurfürst is shooting at us now. We want to give him the smallest cross-section possible to actually get a shot in. He does hit us, but we have the health to be able to tank that. So we set him on fire, and at this point we start to turn more to get all of our guns on at once. So, with this said then, we did set the Currywurst on fire, and we're going to just let that tick for a bit. We do spot this Des Moines, however. I do think, though, that after the past few, 1 or 2 salvos, I should have switched to HE, and that was a mistake on my part, I will admit that. I should have seen that we should have been not shooting AP. So our opening salvo, we deal 5k, pretty decent, I'll take it. Our second salvo is not as good. We get 1 shatter. What's our third salvo going to be like? Our third salvo, 3k, not bad. So the main problem here is that with the AP at this range, it can be a bit inconsistent sometimes. And that's what we're seeing here. If I'd have switched to HE sooner, this Des Moines would likely have already been dead. We would have killed him. But we didn't. So, here we go. So we decide to once again shoot at the Kurfürst. So we send out our first lot, and at some point we are going to switch back to HE. Back to AP, excuse me. It's like early, so yeah, excuse any mistakes. But we decided to switch back to AP, I think, after this salvo. Maybe, yeah, there we go. So we switch back to AP. So he's still got a fair chunk of health, but we're about to help with this. We don't finish him, unfortunately, as much as I would have liked to, but we do deal a good chunk, and with it we get our Confederate. So, now, we're going to turn out, and we're going to go around. Now, our team is capturing the base, so either way, we've pretty much got this game in the bag. But we're not done yet. But wait, there's more. So, with this said then, we're going to come around here, because I get the feeling that there is a DD encroaching on our cap, and it would make no sense for me to go to their cap, because realistically speaking, I'm not going to get there on time. So I may as well at least see if I can get a bit more damage by protecting our cap. Granted, I'm not the best ship to be doing that, but alas, I'm the only ship here. So, you got to make do with what you're handed and all. As our mighty Lord and Saviour Ave would say, you've got to piss with the cock you got. So, we decide we're going to stay here and we're going to protect the cap if we can. A Moskva pops up. Now, I wasn't expecting this. And I was shitting bricks at this point. Because I thought, oh shit, there's no way. I'm less than half health. There's no way I can deal with a full health Moskva. And in most cases, you'd probably be correct. He's chunking us for a fair bit. I mean, granted, we aren't angling as well as we should have been. But he's still chunking us for a fair chunk, a fair bit of damage. Fortunately, he just bounced and shattered there. And we decide that we can probably go back to AP because we're close. And then we see these torpedoes, and we're like, oh shit, well, now I've got to turn and unangle against the Moskva so I can dodge these torps. But apparently not. The game had some other ideas for me. So, with that said then, we finish off the Moskva with a big chunk of 40k, 50k was it? Something like that. Finish him off with a fairly big chunk of damage. And then at this point, I was hoping I'd be able to spot the shimmy, just so I could get that little, because there's no way we can lose this now, but I was hoping I'd be able to spot the shimmy so that we could get that, just that little push to push us over 200k. But unfortunately, this isn't to be. He's looking at us. I was hoping to bait a shot out of him so that we could maybe get away with it, but unfortunately not. And so we finished the game with 199,528, which is my damage record for this ship, because I've never been able to break 200k. I've been able to get close, but never to 200. And I will just turn display capture on now so we can show you the post-battle results. So this is what we got. We got, of course, a devastating strike for our Moskva, Dreadnought. It's always fun to get Dreadnoughts in cruisers and Confederate. 3 kills, 193 shell hits, 200k damage, and of course, base XP 2600, next damage is 2040. So I'd say we did pretty well there. I would argue that we did pretty well. But that was a good game. But with that said then, we'll be finishing up here for now. There will be another video on the way though. I will be doing that pretty much back to back here. So with that said though, I do hope that you've enjoyed the video. If you haven't, do let me know why you haven't, and I will see what I can do to fix that. But with that said, I do hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I do hope that you have yourself a wonderful morning, evening, night, whatever it happens to be there at the time. And yeah, with that said, I will see you again next time.